Here is the year-by-year timeline of America's major wars. Year-by-year timeline of America's major wars, 1776 to 2011. 1776, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, Second Cherokee War, Pennamite-Yankee War. 1777, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, Second Cherokee War, Pennamite-Yankee War. 1778, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, Pennamite-Yankee War. 1779, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, Pennamite-Yankee War. 1780, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, Pennamite-Yankee War. 1781, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, Pennamite-Yankee War. 1782, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, Pennamite-Yankee War. 1783, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, Pennamite-Yankee War. 1784, Chickamauga Wars, Pennamite-Yankee War, Oconee War. 1785, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1786, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1787, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1788, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1789, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1790, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1791, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1792, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1793, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1794, Chickamauga Wars, Northwest Indian War. 1795, Northwest Indian War. 1796, No Major War. 1797, No Major War. 1798, Quasi-War. 1799, Quasi-War. 1800, Quasi-War. 1801, First Barbary War. 1802, First Barbary War. 1803, First Barbary War. 1804, First Barbary War. 1805, First Barbary War. 1806, Sabine Expedition. 1807, No Major War. 1808, No Major War. 1809, No Major War. 1810, U.S. occupies Spanish-held West Florida. 1811, Tecumseh's War. 1812, War of 1812, Tecumseh's War, Seminole Wars, U.S. occupies Spanish-held Amelia Island and other parts of East Florida. 1813, War of 1812, Tecumseh's War, Peoria War, Creek War, U.S. expands its territory in West Florida. 1814, War of 1812, Creek War, U.S. expands its territory in Florida, Anti-Piracy War. 1815, War of 1812, Second Barbary War, Anti-Piracy War. 1816, First Seminole War, Anti-Piracy War. 1817, First Seminole War, Anti-Piracy War. 1818, First Seminole War, Anti-Piracy War. 1819, Yellowstone Expedition, Anti-Piracy War. 1820, Yellowstone Expedition, Anti-Piracy War. 1821, Anti-Piracy War, see note above. 1822, Anti-Piracy War, see note above. 1823, Anti-Piracy War, Arikara War. 1824, Anti-Piracy War. 1825, Yellowstone Expedition, Anti-Piracy War. 1826, No Major War. 1827, Winnebago War. 1828, No Major War. 1829, No Major War. 1830, No Major War. 1831, Sac and Fox Indian War. 1832, Black Hawk War. 1833, Cherokee Indian War. 1834, Cherokee Indian War, Pawnee Indian Territory Campaign. 1835, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole Wars, Second Creek War. 1836, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole Wars, Second Creek War, Missouri-Iowa Border War. 1837, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole Wars, Second Creek War, Osage Indian War, Buckshot War. 1838, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole Wars, Buckshot War, Heatherly Indian War. 1839, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole Wars. 1840, Seminole Wars, U.S. Naval Forces invade Fiji Islands. 1841, Seminole Wars, U.S. Naval Forces invade McKean Island, Gilbert Islands, and Samoa. 1842, Seminole Wars. 1843, U.S. forces clash with Chinese, U.S. troops invade African coast. 1844, Texas Indian Wars. 1845, Texas Indian Wars. 1846, Mexican-American War, Texas Indian Wars. 1847, Mexican-American War, Texas Indian Wars. 1848, Mexican-American War, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse War. 1849, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse War, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians. 1850, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse War, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Yuma War, California Indian Wars, Pitt River Expedition. 1851, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse War, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, Yuma War, Utah Indian Wars, California Indian Wars. 1852, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse War, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Yuma War, Utah Indian Wars, California Indian Wars. 1853, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse War, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Yuma War, Utah Indian Wars, Walker War, California Indian Wars. 1854, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse War, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians. 1855, Seminole Wars, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse War, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, Yakima War, Winna's Expedition, Klickitat War, Puget Sound War, Rogue River Wars, U.S. forces invade Fiji Islands and Uruguay. 1856, Seminole Wars, Texas Indian Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, California Indian Wars, Puget Sound War, Rogue River Wars, Tintic War. 1857, Seminole Wars, Texas Indian Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, California Indian Wars, Utah War, Conflict in Nicaragua. 1858, Seminole Wars, Texas Indian Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Mojave War, California Indian Wars, Spokane Kurdialinpalos War, Utah War, U.S. forces invade Fiji Islands and Uruguay. 1859, Texas Indian Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, California Indian Wars, Pecos Expedition, Antelope Hills Expedition, Bear River Expedition, John Brown's Raid, U.S. forces launch attack against Paraguay, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1860, Texas Indian Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, Paiute War, Kiowa Comanche War. 1861, American Civil War, Texas Indian Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, Cheyenne Campaign. 1862, American Civil War, Texas Indian Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, Cheyenne Campaign, Dakota War of 1862. 1863, American Civil War, Texas Indian Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, Cheyenne Campaign, Colorado War, Goshute War. 1864, American Civil War, Texas Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, Cheyenne Campaign, Colorado War, Snake War. 1865, American Civil War, Texas Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, Colorado War, Snake War, Utah's Black Hawk War. 1866, Texas Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, California Indian Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians, Snake War, Utah's Black Hawk War, Red Clouds War, Franklin County War, U.S. invades Mexico, conflict with China. 1867, Texas Indian Wars, Long Walk of the Navajo, Apache Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians, Snake War, Utah's Black Hawk War, Red Clouds War, Comanche Wars, Franklin County War, U.S. troops occupy Nicaragua and attack Taiwan. 1868, Texas Indian Wars, Long Walk of the Navajo, Apache Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians, Snake War, Utah's Black Hawk War, Red Clouds War, Comanche Wars, Battle of Washita River, Franklin County War. 1869, Texas Indian Wars, Apache Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians, Utah's Black Hawk War, Comanche Wars, Franklin County War. 1870, Texas Indian Wars, Apache Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians, Utah's Black Hawk War, Comanche Wars, Franklin County War. 1871, Texas Indian Wars, Apache Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians, Utah's Black Hawk War, Comanche Wars, Franklin County War, Kingsley Cave Massacre, U.S. forces invade Korea. 1872, Texas Indian Wars, Apache Wars, Utah's Black Hawk War, Comanche Wars, Modoc War, Franklin County War. 1873, Texas Indian Wars, Comanche Wars, Modoc War, Apache Wars, Cypress Hills Massacre, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1874, Texas Indian Wars, Comanche Wars, Red River War, Mason County War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1875, Conflict in Mexico, Texas Indian Wars, Comanche Wars, Eastern Nevada, Mason County War, Colfax County War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1876, Texas Indian Wars, Black Hills War, Mason County War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1877, Texas Indian Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians, Black Hills War, Nez Perce War, Mason County War, Lincoln County War, San Elizario Salt War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1878, Paiute Indian Conflict, Bannock War, Cheyenne War, Lincoln County War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1879, Cheyenne War, Sheepeter Indian War, White River War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1880, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1881, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1882, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1883, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1884, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1885, Apache Wars, Eastern Nevada Expedition, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1886, Apache Wars, Pleasant Valley War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1887, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1888, U.S. show of force against Haiti, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1889, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1890, Sioux Indian War, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians, Ghost Dance War, Wounded Knee, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1891, Sioux Indian War, Ghost Dance War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1892, Johnson County War, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1893, U.S. forces invade Mexico and Hawaii. 1894, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1895, U.S. forces invade Mexico, Bannock Indian disturbances. 1896, U.S. forces invade Mexico. 1897, no major war. 1898, Spanish-American War, Battle of Leech Lake, Chippewa Indian disturbances. 1899, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1900, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1901, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1902, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1903, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1904, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1905, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1906, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1907, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1908, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1909, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1910, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1911, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1912, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars. 1913, Philippine-American War, Banana Wars, New Mexico Navajo War. 1914, Banana Wars, U.S. invades Mexico. 1915, Banana Wars, U.S. invades Mexico Colorado Paiute War. 1916, Banana Wars, U.S. invades Mexico. 1917, Banana Wars, World War I, U.S. invades Mexico. 1918, Banana Wars, World War I, U.S. invades Mexico. 1919, Banana Wars, U.S. invades Mexico. 1920, Banana Wars. 1921, Banana Wars. 1922, Banana Wars. 1923, Banana Wars, Posey War. 1924, Banana Wars. 1925, Banana Wars. 1926, Banana Wars. 1927, Banana Wars. 1928, Banana Wars. 1930, Banana Wars. 1931, Banana Wars. 1932, Banana Wars. 1933, Banana Wars. 1934, Banana Wars. 1935, No Major War. 1936, No Major War. 1937, No Major War. 1938, No Major War. 1939, No Major War. 1940, No Major War. 1941, World War II. 1942, World War II. 1943, World War II. 1944, World War II. 1945, World War II. 1946, Cold War, U.S. occupies the Philippines and South Korea. 1947, Cold War, U.S. occupies South Korea, U.S. forces land in Greece to fight communists. 1948, Cold War, U.S. forces aid Chinese Nationalist Party against communists. 1949, Cold War, U.S. forces aid Chinese Nationalist Party against communists. 1950, Korean War, Jaeger Uprising. 1951, Korean War. 1952, Korean War. 1953, Korean War. 1954, Covered War in Guatemala. 1955, Vietnam War. 1956, Vietnam War. 1957, Vietnam War. 1958, Vietnam War. 1959, Vietnam War, conflict in Haiti. 1960, Vietnam War. 1961, Vietnam War. 1962, Vietnam War, Cold War, Cuban Missile Crisis, U.S. Marines fight communists in Thailand. 1963, Vietnam War. 1964, Vietnam War. 1965, Vietnam War, U.S. occupation of Dominican Republic. 1966, Vietnam War, U.S. occupation of Dominican Republic. 1967, Vietnam War. 1968, Vietnam War. 1969, Vietnam War. 1970, Vietnam War. 1971, Vietnam War. 1972, Vietnam War. 1973, Vietnam War, U.S. aids Israel in Yom Kippur War. 1974, Vietnam War. 1975, Vietnam War. 1976, No Major War. 1977, No Major War. 1978, No Major War. 1979, Cold War, CIA proxy war in Afghanistan. 1980, Cold War, CIA proxy war in Afghanistan. 1981, Cold War, CIA proxy war in Afghanistan and Nicaragua, First Gulf of Sidra incident. 1982, Cold War, CIA proxy war in Afghanistan and Nicaragua, conflict in Lebanon. 1983, Cold War, invasion of Grenada, CIA proxy war in Afghanistan and Nicaragua, conflict in Lebanon. 1984, Cold War, CIA proxy war in Afghanistan and Nicaragua, conflict in Persian Gulf. 1985, Cold War, CIA proxy war in Afghanistan and Nicaragua. 1986, Cold War, CIA proxy war in Afghanistan and Nicaragua. 1987, conflict in Persian Gulf. 1988, conflict in Persian Gulf, U.S. occupation of Panama. 1989, Second Gulf of Sidra incident, U.S. occupation of Panama, conflict in Philippines. 1990, First Gulf War, U.S. occupation of Panama. 1991, First Gulf War. 1992, conflict in Iraq. 1993, conflict in Iraq. 1994, conflict in Iraq, U.S. invades Haiti. 1995, conflict in Iraq, U.S. invades Haiti, NATO bombing of Bosnia and Herzegovina. 1996, conflict in Iraq. 1997, no major war. 1998, bombing of Iraq, missile strikes against Afghanistan and Sudan. 1999, Kosovo War. 2000, no major war. 2001, War on Terror in Afghanistan. 2002, War on Terror in Afghanistan and Yemen. 2003, War on Terror in Afghanistan and Iraq. 2004, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Yemen. 2005, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Yemen. 2006, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Yemen. 2007-6, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Yemen. 2007, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen. 2008, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Yemen. 2009, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Yemen. 2010, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Yemen. 2011, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen, conflict in Libya, Libyan civil war. Let's update what's happened since 2011. 2012, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen. 2013, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen. 2014, War on Terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen, civil war in Ukraine. 2015, War on Terror in Somalia, Syria, and Yemen, civil war in Ukraine. So we can add 4 more years of war. That means that for 222 out of 239 years, or 93% of the time, America has been at war. We can quibble with the exact numbers, but the high percentage of time that America has been at war is clear and unmistakable. Most of the military operations launched since World War II have been launched by the U.S. And American military spending dwarfs the rest of the world put together. No wonder polls show that the world believes America is the #1 threat to peace.